Lashante Rawaluni. Welcome back to our talk story. Tonight we are featuring a few parents, who identify as fathers to talk about their transformation of their role during birth and postpartum, because it truly does take a village. All right. So, guys, if you don't mind introducing yourself. Tico, if you don't mind going first, we'd love to hear from you. Who are you? How many children do you have, and where are you from?
Okay, my name is Tico Gasevakatini. I'm from Fiji, and I have 3 kids, and I live in Washington, and
Thank you. And our other guest is Joe.
Yeah, my name is Joe. I have 2 kids, one girl and one boy, and I live here in Canada.
Thank you guys so much for being here tonight. Also, just for reference, what islands are you all from?
I'm from Fiji.
I think we heard Tico's from Fiji, Joe.
Oh yeah, and and
Okay.
how many times when I ask you stuff like
Okay, thank you. So we're gonna go ahead and move into the questions.
okay.
The first question that I'd like to ask you both is, what did you know about labor? And in your culture, what is expected of you as a father in the birth room?
What did I know about labor? First, I didn't know anything about labor, and I've never. I know the last time when I left Fiji, my sister had a baby, but she just went to the hospital, and when she came back, there was a baby. So I don't know how how she went through it, or was it natural, or how. But now having 3 babies um, on my belt as an experience, um, I know how how they came out, how they were crying. If it's healthy, if the baby's healthy, they'll be crying. Uh, if it's an active baby, stuff like that. So
In your culture, what is expected of you as a father in the birth room?
there's not so much expected from a father in our culture, and like we can go to the hospital. There's not really much expected.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually the mom that's always moms in Fiji. They're really badass. They do so much. Like over here, women are like, "Oh, you okay?" But in Fiji, woo, the baby come out too easy, man. But over here, it's like, "Oh, you okay, girl?" Like stuff like that. And that stuff I had to learn when I came here. Like in Fiji, there's a word like vamenemene. Like you have to like overly, kind of like treating a baby. Like your wife is kind of like a baby. Like you have to baby them in America. Like, oh, it's gonna be okay. Like wipe their sweat off, and I mean it's good. Like I do my best, but culturally back in Fiji, you're not really we don't really show like that kind of emotion. Women just naturally know what to do. It's like they just women in Fiji, they're just badasses, and I wish like men in Fiji would like learn more about how to be more, um, like emotionally loving, like more, particip- how do I say it? be more to participate more in the birthing process. But that's I learned those things here when I had my three babies. So
I see some head nods from Joe as you like women in Fiji are badasses who got some head.
Oh, I don't know.
So how is it for
Oh.
you, Joe?
Oh yeah, it's definitely a huge journey for especially for when you see a woman they go through this short like pain for like 10 months, and then
Yeah.
you see them go through rough times again in the labor room, and it's definitely a different perspective too, because from our side, from the guy's side, it's easy for us. Yeah, we just there and just holding her hand, and we're trying to be more supportive. Just kind of like kind of like what Tico said is in our culture, the guys is always doing stuff outside, like guy stuff like work, and the woman does like take care of the kids, and it's the same things we learn here during the delivery room. We not only have to learn to not only bring income in the house, but also to be there for the wife, especially in this type of like setting, like birth. I remember when I went with my brother-in-law, we were not even in the labor room when my sister gave birth. Like it wasn't something big, like. But as time goes, as we get older, like the support of the man in the labor room is so important, and just kind of like how it goes back to your the title of your thing. It literally takes a village. Yeah. So after birth, the mom comes and usually helps my wife, or helps the woman to take care of the kid while the husband goes back to work, or whatever he does. And so it definitely takes a whole village to go through this journey, and then once he's born, it's a huge reward. So yeah.
That's true. It is very rewarding. My next question for the both of you is, how was the actual birth and labor from your point of view? How did you feel if you were in there while your wife was giving birth? How did that feel to you? What did you see? How was it?
So I was with my ex then. I mean my wife then, but not my ex. So oh, it was bad, man. It was definitely. I wish I could have been more educated, because I almost passed out when they brought out the needle and they put it in my wife's back, my ex's back. Woo! That was I almost fainted, but and then when the baby came out and the head was deformed, you know how like when they came out it looked like an alien, and I was like, oh no, it's gonna be an alien, my son's gonna be as ugly as me, but anyways, it was really difficult, just because I've never been through any. My brother probably Joe has probably been through the birthing, like for our sister back in Fiji, but I've never been through any birthing. So that was my first time, and it was difficult, and I think definitely I could have been educating myself more, so to prepare for it.
How about you, Joe?
Oh yes, it's definitely an experience you'll never forget. Yeah. So, the whole process of when you take your wife to the hospital room, to the birthing, it's a whole different experience. Yeah, you've seen a lot of things, but not like this. Yeah. So and it's always good at the end when the baby's born. You almost forget all those pain. the woman normally forgets all the pain that she went through just holding that baby at the end, and kind of brings yeah, kind of grateful we are boys also, but yeah, it's definitely an experience, a good experience, yeah, to, and kind of like Tico said, it's good to educate. Now we can educate our sons and help them too when they go through that same process. So
Yeah.
One thing that I want to highlight before we move on is that Tico, you had mentioned that you didn't know, like, when baby's head was like shaped differently, or
Yeah.
like when the needle went in. A lot of women here also don't know that information as well.
Oh.
Like, I didn't know that until I had my second baby, and I'm
Yeah.
the one giving birth. So it's not just a guy thing. If anybody watching feels like that might maybe just a guy thing not to know this information, but it really is just misinformation or just a lack of information. So thank you for actually acknowledging that.
Oh, no worries. Thank you, guys.
We'll go ahead and move on to the next question. And the next question is, the transition from a couple to a small family can be hard. Did you notice any changes with your partner? And this is after giving birth.
Oh man. Um. Yeah, definitely a lot of changes. One of the changes um is that it was good because your wife's focus wasn't always on you now. It's like split between you and the child, mostly to the child because she's trying to like um breastfeed the child, and and the child's and the baby's crying, you know, and yeah. So, and as a new father, it was a lot of things that I had to learn by myself. I wasn't prepared for it, you know. Um, Definitely didn't do as much as I should have. You know, I was working and coming home, and I was tired, and it was a lot of work. But I think it's like that with any new family. You gotta get used to but definitely the relationship between your wife, I mean your yeah your spouse and you definitely will change, and it changed for me. Um, um, because now it's split between me and the baby, and I totally it was fine because um, the baby needed that attention, you know.
Yeah. How about you, Joe?
oh yes, it's definitely a good experience, especially because you're so used to just having a spouse, you're just taking care of your spouse. Now you have two people to take care of, so it's a huge change, adjustment change, and also you, especially those beginning of the um, post birth days, you don't have much sleep because you're the baby, and it's definitely a huge adjustment change. But just a few months, we adapted to it, and yeah, just progress through those times. Yeah.
Did either of you notice? I'm not sure how to word it, but not only physical changes, but maybe emotional changes, or yeah, we'll go with mental changes with your spouse after they gave birth.
Yeah, definitely a lot of fights just because emotionally, they're going through this chemical. The baby came out, like there was a lot of pain and a lot of emotions. Now her boobs are producing milk, and like the whole chemical is just like. And I remember at one night my ex, like her boobs was hurting so bad, and ooh, and I could even feel it, because it just, and like she would cry, and it was really bad. Um, what was your question again? I'm sorry.
Just if you've noticed, and if you notice any like mental or emotional
Yeah. So definitely, sometimes she would like just need time for herself. Totally understandable. The baby would be crying so much, and just mental, like sometimes just mental breakdown. I'm like, oh, stress, and it's just because she was going through the pain, the emotions, and then with the baby that she has to take care of, and it's just a lot of attention. She has to give so much love and attention to this one other human being.
yeah.
And now she has to forget about herself. Like sometimes no makeup, no, the hair is like crazy. Like all that. She now has to like think about the baby, and the baby's taking all her time, all her sleep. So definitely will be some crazy going on. If I get yelled at, it's fine, because but it's part of the beginning of a family. Definitely a lot of like chemical and emotional things going on with her.
Spot on. I need more people like that. If I get yelled at, that's okay because I
Yeah,
know he's going through a lot.
yeah, I got yelled at so many times. Now I was a young dad back then. Now looking back, I'm like, yeah. Sometimes you just have to walk out of the house and think about other things, because yeah.
What about you, Joe? What's your experience with noticing if there were any changes mentally, emotionally, with your partner, your wife?
Yeah, I think like Tico said, where when we were all young when we had our kids, and it's definitely important to especially for guys to just step up and help the woman because they go through so much changes, especially physical, emotional, and so just to have that support, just to support your wife in postpartum, and it's definitely important because like Tico said, there can be breakdowns or anything like that. So the man support in that in the house or to take care of the families is so important because sometimes you're exhausted when you come back from work and you still have daddy duties to do, and you carry the baby and you're trying to relieve your wife's stress and take it upon you too, and so it's definitely a huge change emotionally, physically, and yeah. So yeah, there's some good times, good experience there.
It looks like we have a question from a Facebook comment that says, did you feel the medical staff helped you understand the birthing process, like the baby's head shape and the needle?
It was so fast. Um, they were saying a bunch of stuff. I was blacked out. I was just like, whoa, man. Like I couldn't hear. It was a really new experience for me. And I would say it's better for a person to be educated before the birthing process than during the birthing process. Because when that happens, when the head comes out like that, and you don't know anything about it, or like there's a lot of blood,
Yeah.
and or like just bunch of stuff going on, like ooh, heads this way, poops coming out, blood's, ooh man, it's just so much. And I am so sorry for women and how they go through that. It's like a lot of pain and a lot of um, I would say definitely like you guys, like your organization is really good, like the doulas, because you guys are able to, like, I don't know if you guys educate husbands too or you guys just help the mothers. Definitely it would be, it's good to, like, like educate the husbands, and like you probably do it. And but for me, at that time I was in Arizona, and my first child, his name was Ezekiel, when he came out, and the nurses were just saying, "Oh, stand this side, move this way, do this," like it was just like, okay, do, 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 do. And then the truth, like most of the time I was just like about to faint. So, and but I wanted to be there to see my son come out and hold him, you know, so he can feel my love and know that I'm his dad. And but if I was educated before, it would have been a way better experience. That's all I have to say.
That's a solid answer. Joe, do you have anything you want to add?
Oh yes, yes. It's definitely a lot to comprehend when the nurse is talking to you. Kind of like what Tico said. There's so much information going, and you can just absorb so much until you go through and see what it happens. Then you definitely know. I think even with the amount of education they given to us, you still don't comprehend until you go through that process. So yeah, that's
That's true.
I've noticed that the first time I gave birth, it wasn't very family centered, which is what I feel like the both of you are trying to convey right now is that you go in the hospital, their main mission and goal is to get the baby out. They're not worried about how is the father feeling, how can we help him
Yeah.
incorporate it, or how can we teach him about what's going on because they just want to get the baby out safely.
Hmm.
I feel it. We have another question. Being a
oh nice.
gender, I've learned that the men are not very active or supportive during the early process of raising a newborn. Why is that? In your opinion, why is that?
I'll go ahead first. Just I think, like, culturally, we're just not educated enough. Like, we learn from our fathers and grandfathers, and we, some of them try, like, individually they try by themselves to be uh, better at raising a newborn.
Mm-hmm.
But to tell you the truth, like, most fathers, most specific island fathers, they just they just don't know, like, how do they, like, what, how do they um cater to, like, a mother, who's breastfeeding. How do you like, I think education does really help. Like, being in America has really helped me because it has opened my eyes to, like, I didn't even know before I came here that there was emotional trauma. You know, I don't know what that is. In Fiji, emotional trauma. Okay, go outside, go cut the grass. That's emotional trauma. You go and fix it out there, and you go and do some chores. No crying. You know, you gotta have to. If you're a man, you're not supposed to cry and all that. I just hide your pain. You just keep going every day. But definitely, like she was saying, um, men are not very active and supportive because it's a long line of uneducated, not in a sense of, like, like other things, but specifically uneducated in this thing, like the help the moms with a newborn. But some, like my brother, he's really good. He'll take the baby, and some first of all, we gotta know how to hold the baby. We don't want to break the baby. And some Pacific Islander dads, they're huge, and so you, first you gotta like learn like okay how to hold the head. You don't want to break the neck, and then all those things. But if you don't know, you, for me personally, I was kind of scared. It was like a scary thing for me. Even though I didn't want to say that I was scared, but it was a different weird um, thing of the process of raising a newborn.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, yeah, it usually comes from just from my opinion, from traditions of the culture, and like men portrayed like, oh, you men is uh just to bring the income in the house. They are not they don't do girl stuff like if the wife does pregnancy, you come at the end after they give birth. Like that's woman stuff that's sacred to them, and it also comes with that laid back vibe, yeah, like that vibe that So when we came here to we our eyes are open to see more like men needs to be there, needs to be supportive, need to be there for their wives. So it definitely will take a long time to change that trend because it's been passed on for many years, and I think younger generation should be educated not only in their homes but in schools, and they will definitely help kind of change uh, it to the way we think it should go. Yeah. So
Couldn't have said it any better. We have another question from the comments. What does your ideal birth education for a husband or support person look like? Also, considering work and availability.
Um, just just to know the step by step process and what to expect. When the baby comes out, what do you expect? Also, how you can cater to your wife, and or your spouse or whoever the girl you made pregnant. How you can cater to them to give them that to serve them, to love them, to make it easier for them, even though the loads like will be on them fully because they're gonna give birth. To at least like find a way to lighten that burden, and I think um, and for that to happen, um, definitely an education. So before the spouse gives birth, definitely need to be educated. Maybe just go like on like a Saturday, like learn like I don't know, maybe come to you guys, um, like read books about it, invest time about it. Like I told you, like how my brother like was saying, like how Joe was saying, um, like in how in Fiji, the roles, like okay, I'm gonna do this, you do that, and it doesn't like come together. But in America, it comes together. It, it blends in. Like okay, I'll help you, you help me, I'll help you, and that is a healthy relationship and more elevated and relationship. Um, but
yeah, and
yeah,
the best ideal birth education probably is social media. We have the best tool is YouTube. You can learn anything on YouTube. So I think and guys have a stereotype. Yeah, they're always on their phone. So so maybe 2 weeks before we can sit down with the wife and probably go through some of the YouTube videos and learn and how we can be more helpful as men and step up and um, yeah and for work and just to call in sick or to go on paternity leave and so, oh man, yeah.
I love that question, April. Thank you for that question because that leads me to be able to say that for any young fathers or fathers who are watching this live, these guys are saying get educated. The best ways to get educated, in my opinion, would be to hire a doula.
Mhm.
Also attend childbirth education classes in your, well, a lot of them are virtual now. And they said reading books, go on YouTube, do anything you can to just gather a wealth of knowledge before you go into the situation. So I really appreciate that question and your guys' insight on that.
Yep.
It looks like we may have lost Joe for a little bit. Hopefully he can get back
Yeah.
on.
There he is.
All right, so we'll move on with our planning questions. What, in the first 2 weeks of becoming a father, how did your role change?
So for me, um, it changed. It changed a lot. Um, in the first 2 weeks of becoming a father. Digo velho. In the first 2 weeks of becoming a father. Okay. I would say in the first 2 weeks of becoming a father, my role changed. Um, so going back to where, like, when I was growing up, my role is just to provide, protect, not to nurture. And nurturing to me would be like when the baby's crying, I'd be like, oh, it's okay, and then stuff like that. Um, that is fully mom's job, but I had to do it, and and I wanted to be a good father, and it changed really fast. And just like Joe was saying, when I come back from work, go straight to the baby, hold the baby while the mama take a break, go take a shower, and taking a shower is like a huge thing for. It's like wow, it's like going to Hawaii or something. Ah, and it's and just small things like that, like when a baby cries at night, instead of like letting it cry until the mama wakes up, you know, it really changed. Like I'm more, I've learned in those 2 weeks, I've learned how to become a man. From being a boy and having a wife and being like, oh, you want to go on a date, and all this like glamorous things, like, oh, you want to watch a movie, yeah, like every day you're like, oh, you want to, like all these fun things, you want to go on a hike, and all of a sudden, boom, here comes my son, and then he's asking for all this attention, and then that's when I switched from like, you know being, I would say, being selfish and thinking of myself, to where I'm like, now it's different. Now I have to focus 50%, to give attention to my wife, um, and my spouse, and to my baby. You know, I have to give attention. I give them attention, serve them, and this service is not like just the neighbor service. Where you're like, oh, you want some food or something like that. You want anything? This is like 24/7. When I go to work and I come back, go straight to the baby. And that's how it changes. It changed really fast for me.
All right, Joe. How did life change for you? Your role in the first 2 weeks?
Oh, the first 2 weeks, it's definitely a change. Yeah, you always the 2 weeks you're so happy. You always come home excited to see the baby, hold the baby, play with the baby. So it's definitely a huge change mentally, because you're so exhausted, but kind of happy at the same time. Yeah. So yeah, that was for me.
This conversation reminds me of a discussion that I had with my husband, and we basically admitted to each other for the first time in 6 or 7 years that being parents isn't fun and it isn't easy. It's hard. Excuse my language. But that's what I'm remembering as you both are telling me about your experience in the first couple of weeks. And it doesn't get any easier, I feel like. Do you guys have that same feeling?
Yeah, it doesn't get any easier. It just you just have like when you once you have a spouse, and once you have kids, like for as a father, it's almost like you're constantly giving it, like and it's worse for mothers because mothers, oof, I can't even comprehend. But for fathers, you, you got to be selfless, man, and you have to constantly be thinking about the kids. Like it's a lot of stress, it's a lot of emotional, and it's so hard for men because men are not as emotional as women. Emotion to men is so stressful, and when dealing with kids and spouses, you gotta be emotional, you gotta be soft, you gotta be nice, you gotta forget about yourself, forget about all your like your pride, your ego, your cultural, um you forget about your culture, you gotta give it all up because this you I don't really know. You gotta you have to rely on Jesus, you know like sometimes you have to pray and all this stuff, and then you're able to cater to them. But if you're selfish, and then it's just gonna make it harder for you. And Joe's gone. Joe,
Yeah,
come in.
yeah, a little years ago. Um, One question.
Yeah.
We'll still end at 6 just to respect the time that you all
Okay.
have today. And I'll ask this last question. Are there any traditions from your island that you observed postpartum for your partner?
Can you clarify that question, please?
Yeah, so I know in Fiji they once baby's born, they may wrap baby in masi and maybe pray, sing, exchange gifts. Is there anything like that, or like special foods that were prepared for your spouse? Were you allowed around her? Did you have?
So my ex, she was um she was Caucasian, and I just blended into their culture,
Mm-hmm.
and it was easier. Like there wasn't any because financially, it's kind of hard to like do all those things, but you can do a little bit of the like Fijian culture. But at that time, um, it's kind of hard to even do gifts and stuff. But the one thing I would say is what helps is the baby shower. That's kind of like we have that in Fiji. We have people bringing gifts, to help you. And that helped a lot. So and usually the aunties and all those families, moms, grandmas, they come visit the baby.
Mhm.
But in my case, I was in Arizona by myself, and it was kind of hard. But but seeing my son, yeah, coming out and holding him, it was like my whole family was there. Um, yeah.
All right, Joe, give us something good before you go. Not that you haven't been dropping gems for us, but
He's been dropping a lot of stuff, good stuff.
knowledge.
Yeah.
So, are there any traditions from Fiji that are observed postpartum, that you observe postpartum for your partner?
Oh yes, yes. We had when my daughter was born. We had a huge Fijian community around that area, and it definitely depends on where you live too. Yeah, like
Yeah.
if you live somewhere where there's not much Fijians, or then you probably wouldn't do any traditional stuff. You'll probably, but we just had a bunch of Fijians bringing gifts and just a small gathering here, and I think also when your kid like your firstborn or like especially for my daughter, we had to name her after my mom. Sometimes they name after their grandma or stuff like that. Yeah, it was such a big name, so I just had to put it in the middle of the those long ones. Yeah, so it was easy for her not to get bullied in school or something like that. So yeah, so that those two was the only tradition I followed. So yeah.
Wow, well, we all really appreciate the both of you taking the time to come on here and share your perspective about birth and postpartum. And a lot of things that were said today are things that a lot of fathers need to hear. Not a lot of men are told that they need to get educated about birth, especially coming from another man who is of the same community, the same culture. And I hope this inspires everyone to do their education, do their research, and know that becoming a man, as Tico and Joe have repeated multiple times, is also taking care of your wife while she's going through pregnancy, birth, and postpartum. Thank you guys so much. We will be in contact.
Thank
Have
you,
a
Asante.
wonderful day and take care.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a good one.